two streamers that have caught themselves in a situation just like what I'll be yapping about. One being from recently and one being from a while back. So to start off recently, we have to talk about the lamest streamer to occupy this space, Tay Too Rough. Tay Too Rough is a degenerate.
Why did you say Tay Too Rough?
That's a very disgusting example of what not to be when it comes to streaming. That's weird. A loser. In my opinion, just a streamer equivalent of a roach.
Hey, yo, jeez.
This community has against him is so insane, but rightly justified. But at a certain point in time, he was actually loved. I don't remember which one at first, but I believe he started off in either Your Rage's or Dante's community. Well, up until he's been himself from at least 3 to 4 communities.
I do know. I was in the stream when she first got introduced. I'm not gonna lie, I used to be a Max fanboy.
So it's hard to keep track. But again, he's a low-life, sad excuse of a streamer and decided to destroy his career by flirting with Mari, a well-known streamer in Dante's ex-mod.
Oh, really about to get your pickle chin in a way? There you go.
I'm not going to explain the whole situation, but just know Tay should never be left around a woman. Or people in general.
Right.
But fast forward to now, exile after exile, he's now once again caught up with another community. Now, a lot of people in Max's community told him to leave Tay and not interact with him whatsoever. But if Max had any type of sense to him, I would have made this video.
Well, God, I look at the computer say,
Just Jerry.
see, Melly,
Black Boy Max.
what is it for me for?
Anyways, to make a long story short, Max has been vouching for Tay for months, but then it was exposed that not only has Tay been hating on Max for a while, not only did he have burner accounts to fuel that hate, but he also doesn't feel bad about it.
And I'm gonna stand on that, but what I will say, I apologize for what I need to apologize to. The burners said that I said, not coming to you, not coming to my friends, I apologize for it, but I'm not gonna apologize for what I said. So if you want me to get on my knees and beg for some shit like that, nigga, I'm not doing that.
At least stay 10 toes. I can respect the nigga that stayed 10 toes in his shit. I'm not gonna lie. Because if he said it on the burner, at least he meant what he said. But at the same time, like, why would you say it on the burner, bitch? Why don't you just say it to his face? I don't like it. So you can't be fake and then be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be real. Like, nigga, why was you fake? Why wasn't you just real in the first place? Nah, at the same time, I do respect a little bit of him just standing on 10 toes. But at the same time, nigga, I'm conflicted. I'm not gonna lie. If you can't do it,
I'm cool off that. It's all good. You feel me? So at the end of the day, like you said, nigga, we met. You don't have to accept me as your friend, even though we both. I don't know if you have the best regards for me, but you feel me? I have the best regards for you. Nigga, I hope you go.
you obviously don't if you was talking shit about him. That's a lot.
You feel me? You kill shit. I'm going to listen to the pod forever. You feel me? I'm gonna leave my profile picture pink because I still with you. But it's like, bro, I'm done. Sure. That's all it is.
Yeah.
And he did all of this because Max made him look like a loser. Like he didn't say this to him.
Why you talking how you need to know your place? I might pull up to your finger and bust a car right in your face. And you go like, oh my God.
I'm full to you, couldn't bust another in your face. That's crazy.
Niggas like this are disgusting to me. What are you talking about? Busting that in your face. This is a woman. Doesn't she have a man too? Yeah, if I'm her nigga, I'm shooting this nigga.
Like 30K, but that shit came from Dante. Don't be acting like you brought it, but you took the easy one.
Or con.
Problem, do I need to break this shit down and fucking real dumbass? That fat ass nose, ugly ass lips. Everybody know you fucking insecure about your face, dirty ass bitch. Like, who the fuck you think?
Nigga, like, why are you speaking to me? This is weird. Why are you speaking to women? That's very weird.
You talking to?
Or women in general. Take a picture of Senna and Sunny after he's resurfacing after he got cut off.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yo, that's nasty. That is nasty. He did nothing but give Tay support, and instead of being a good friend, he tried his best to hawk him.
When your homies doing shit like this, you gotta cut him off. Because that's weird nigga tendency. It's weird nigga tendency. I'm not gonna lie.
The benefits of being around Max instead of with Max. But speaking of Hog, Bruce dropped a bomb. Bruce is actually the next person in regards to this conversation. If If you don't know who Bruce is one of the most popular and influential streamers of our time. Starting his online career 10 years ago, he didn't really break mainstream success until he linked up on stream with Rage and Kai and created Bruce.
And on voice. Haven't heard that thing. I ain't you know what? It was cool, bro. It was a cool experience, bro. But like the niggas just fucking fell out.
Boys Night was truly a product of its time.
They can, no, it was legendary. They can literally be in a Discord VC like this, yeah, for an hour, nigga, they would put 200,000 shooters on
those crazy being boys, and it was great. Funny moments, memes, just had to be there. But like Tay, Bruce was exposed for doing the same exact thing, talking shit about his circle to other people to help stroke his fragile ego. Just going off of my memory, I think Bruce said something about Kai going to Japan foreign, something about Yachty, Kai and Rage are fake, locker room talk. But it's not that simple. In both cases, both streamers were in good positions. Bruce at that time was part of a legendary stream collab, and Tay after multiple games, so he still asked for me to kick with his pay. Formulations found a home within. But with Tay feeling envious about Max, Bruce feeling envious of Camo prideful around Rage and Kai, both behaviors seem to be so left field from an outside point of view. I don't know any of these people, so shit is crazy on this pointless, and the same goes for you. But as far as friendships go, it seemed good on surface. Max may be a dumbass, but he's always had good intentions and good people around. So with him vouching for Tay, about that. None of these content creators are this big are gonna harm that. They're just good at the a certified dipshit into a community where no one wants it is not only a slap to just Max, but pretty much all of 5-star. Bruce is known for being very prideful, so no one was surprised about the content of his messages. However, the timing and revelation of the messages was the surprise. Bruce talking down on Kai and Rage, two of the most revelation. 2023 of the messages was the surprise.
Yeah, that is crazy.
It's Bruce talking down on Kai and Rage, two of the most positive of the messages was the surprise. Bruce talking down on Kai and Rage, two of the most positive people on the platform, it just rubbed people off the wrong way. In a dog-eat-dog world like content creation, finding two people who want to see you succeed and grow alongside them, you should cherish them naturally. Obviously, if it's not natural, you just don't like them. Just stand on business, tell them how it is. But if that doesn't apply, at least on their end, I don't know. Just don't take
this. Is why content creation groups and trios and duos is scary. Because a lot of times, niggas will become a conglomerate and they don't do this with you. But it's for content, so they just do it. This is why you need to find people like, and you can connect with them on a basis. Because if you can connect with them, y'all can get through anything on each other. You can't, the cracks will sleep. Everybody will see his fate.
Take their love and support for granted. With both of these streamers losing their friends, you can see numbers-wise and relevance-wise that people will cite those who are disrespected. Bruce took his L to the chin, and it's not like he drastically fell off, but his content and community were never really the same since. But he's been on a streaming hiatus, but he's now bouncing back with his record label, Baja Records or something like that. Hopefully he'll be back on stream, but again, this is not hate. I'm just acknowledging the truth. Tay, on the other hand, he'll cry about it now, but those tears aren't fooling anyone. I would like to compare him to a roach.
He's crying because he lost the opportunity, not because he lost the friend. Some of these content creators are just slimy people.
Marvin for his ability to escape online death, but nope, still a roach. Overall, with content creation or any other industry where you'll make relations with other people, take those relationships and make it known if it's just business or genuine. But hey, what do I know? My life is stuck in second gear, but what do you think?
Oh, bro. This guy's...
Are friendships worth it in the online space? Was Bruce ever in the wrong?
I think friendships are worth it, but I will say this. If you're truly friends with somebody, it's not a smart idea to mix business and pleasure. I mean, why do I say business and pleasure? You're not gonna fuck these niggas. I don't think it's smart to mix business and friendship to an extent. content creation is one of the things where like the line has to be clear. Because you can be both, right? So just at the same time, it's just I feel like if we're really friends, I might not want to make content with you because it could get business and it could get money. But at the same time, because we're friends, we'll be so good with each other, like on camera. So it's a real it's weird dynamic. I feel like just as friends, you have to know each other and know, okay, yeah, we locked in for life no matter what this content shit goes. If this content shit is gonna ruin our friendship, we cut the content shit off. We don't cut the friendship off. As long as you set that boundaries, you'll be straight. But yeah, got room for one more.
Will I ever actually sit down and have a real conversation with Felipe in regards to, I don't know the answer, but maybe
Game is game. What do y'all think about this? I miss D. One thing I'll say, I miss DYK. They need to bring it back. But also, some people need to get
Vacation is a sign of mispractice.
Our interest payments are higher than the band's student budget. If you're going to do something about this, and don't get any right, it's late.
They say that's the most stable
investment in the new world. The foundation of pensions, retirement accounts, and entire countries is starting to form.
The longer term is still uncertain, and the market response to the back and forth has been volatile, especially when it comes to the bond market.
If we're all going to say you crack the bond market, okay, it is going to happen. 19 regular speaking is good. I'm telling you it's going to happen. And you're going to patch it.
That was Jamie Dimon, the CEO of JP Morgan Chase, which manages about $1 assets. And he put out one of his most serious warnings, and he's not alone. We're already seeing huge cracks overseas. In Japan, the 30-year government bond has raised about half of its value since 2019, going down by about 35%. Just in the past year alone, the interest rates went up by 100 basis points, causing unrealized losses and the biggest financial shares. Now, in the United States, we have $36 trillion in debt, a debt-to-GDP ratio of 54%, and yearly deficits approaching above 6%. In context, that is more than doubling the 3% level of interest say is sustainable. And if Japan, which was once the center of global financial stability, the country that lends its money to all other countries, is flashing warning signs, and JP Morgan is sounding the alarm here at home, I think it's worth paying attention to, because if the bond market really starts to move, it could threaten just your investments. It could the entire global financial system. Today, I'll bring down exactly what's happening and see what it means for our future. Mostly on the like, look at that bad. Hi, my name is Andre Jick, doing well, and stay tuned. So in today's video, you're going to get more economics than any of my other videos. But before we get into the juicy stuff of Elon Musk, President Trump, and Jamie Dimon, and everything in between, first, let's understand exactly what he's saying. Because all of this integrates towards thinking that federal deficit, national debt, and civic all of this is but first, let me just explain something important. You know, when your kids talk about yields, interest rates, they're basically saying the same thing. The yield bond is just the return or interest rate that you get from loaning your money to the government or a company. And when bond prices drop, their yields, interest rates, well, and vice versa. But here's the problem. Today, these interest rates are running at a historic pace. In fact, a yield on a 10-year treasury bond was used as a benchmark to build interest rates. Not less than 1%, 20%, almost 5%, 11%. That's the fastest jump that we've seen in the last 40 years, and it's creating huge pressure on banks, governments, and institutions. The question is, why are those rates going up? The level of bank payments up. When investors start to think there is ability to pay back more interest, they demand higher yields to compensate for taking on that additional risk. For example, if you're going to let someone borrow your money, and maybe you're not 100% sure they were going to pay you back, you probably want just a little bit of extra to take that risk. That's why rising yields, rates, are a lot of times seen as the first warning sign of trouble. Unfortunately, the interest rates right now in the U.S., not just in Japan, but also here. Now, to fully understand exactly how we got here, though, I want to share with you today a presentation by Excellent Hall. She also put out a book called Get Money, which, by the way, I strongly recommend if you're a finance nerd. Link it down below. But then I'll describe exactly why we're trapped in this cycle right now. Let me walk you through each piece of research step by step, because once you see it, your mind is going to go. The first piece of research I'm going to show you helps explain exactly how we got stuck here, why this situation seems impossible to fix. Take a look at this chart.
Inside, you have the unemployment rate in red. On the other, government deficits in blue, which is how much money the government spends and collects taxes each year. Normally, these two lines work together in really different cycles. When the economy is strong and unemployment is low and people have jobs, governments collect more taxes and they spend less money, so deficits shrink. Then, during recessions, the opposite happens. When people lose their jobs, deficits go up as governments step in to support the economy. But notice something strange that started to happen around 2017. Even as unemployment rates went down to historically low levels, the deficit started going up much faster. In fact, today, our yearly deficit is around 6% of GDP. Again, that's double the level that economists usually consider healthy, and that's not good. It's like the government's spending money as if we were in the middle of a recession, even though the jobs numbers say that the economy is really strong. And that means we're borrowing at a pace that's normally reserved for economic emergencies. And here's why that matters. The more money we borrow, the more bonds we have to create, and the more the debt piles up. Over time, that makes investors very nervous. And when investors get nervous, as we talked about earlier, the interest rates start to go up. When rates go up, the value of the bonds go down. That's what the trap that we're in right now. We're borrowing really heavily, even in good times, which sets us up for some serious trouble as soon as investors lose that confidence. Now let's look at the next slide, which shows another really important piece of this puzzle. Now in this chart, it's comparing a real interest rate to the price of gold. Real interest rates are measured by the interest rate you earn on a bond, typically the 10-year Treasury bond, minus something called the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, which is how economists measure inflation or the rate of growing prices. So real interest rates, again, are 10-year bond rates minus inflation. Now, historically, when real interest rates are high, investors want to buy bonds because you can comfortably earn interest above inflation, keeping the purchasing power of your dollar. But when real interest rates go down to almost zero or even negative, investors start looking for better places to put their money. Now, for decades, gold prices moved almost exactly in line with real interest rates. Between 2022 and 2020. The two decoupled. Gold prices are now moving in the opposite direction of real interest rates. Why? Because people are not rushing back to bonds right now. Instead, they're shifting their investment strategy toward scarce assets that can't be printed or devalued. And this suggests that investors all over the world are starting to doubt the sustainability of the current financial system, which is built on ever-increasing debt. Now, the third slide from Alden's research shows something that's really interesting. This chart compares two types of debt. Private debt, as the blue line, which is money borrowed by businesses and everyday people like you and me, and public debt, which is the line, which is money that's borrowed by the government. Throughout history, private debt has usually grown faster than government debt, except during recessions, which is when governments step in to borrow and stimulate the economy, so that makes sense. But something big changed after the 2008 financial crisis. Government debt growth started consistently outpacing private debt, even during economic expansions or times of growth. So even though we're not technically in any crisis, our government is borrowing money like we are. And that's why investors are worried. And here's why that's a major, major problem. The more governments borrow, the more bonds they issue. But who's going to keep buying all these new bonds, especially when debt is always high? At some point, investors start doubting whether all of this borrowing can really be paid without borrowing more money. It's a catch-22. I should take a step back and say that right now, in the news cycle, everything changes really fast. So first thing it's not only that I was able to make almost $10,000 with platform that helps you find stocks based on names. So for example, I wanted to know which stocks would benefit from the following interest rates, all you have to do is click on markets at the bottom of the app, scroll down to investment needs, and click make beneficiaries. And here, it gives me all the stocks related to that theme. And if I want to even more information, I can click the Discover tab of the app, click Insights, and highlight all the things I care about that are connected to my portfolio. So, based on my account, it shows me info on Bitcoin breaking multiple highs and info on Berkshire Hathaway and what they bought in Q1 2025 and more. And if I want to see directly what institutions are buying through that same markets tab, I can click on Institutional Tracker and it'll show me the most held, the most bought, the most sold stocks by institutional investors. And since the market changes so fast right now, it allows me to have pre-market and post-market trading. So if I want to, I can react to the news or earnings as soon as they come out. If you want to try it out, I'm just running a limited time promo of up to 63 stocks with a qualifying deposit and up to 8.1% APY on invested cash for your first 3 months. I'll leave a link down below if you want to check it out. Huge thanks to Mumu for supporting the channel. Let's go back to it. All in all, this slide is the most fascinating one because it brings all of this together in a simple visual. Take a look at this chart. In red, we see the U.S. federal debt to GDP ratio, which measures how much debt the government has in relation to the size of the entire economy. And in blue, you have interest rates, which are based on the 10-year Treasury bond rate. Now, here's what's crazy about that. Back in the 1980s, U.S. government debt was pretty small, only about 30% of GDP. But interest rates were very high, well into the double digits. But since then, we've been on this decades-long trend where every year debt levels have gone higher and higher, while interest rates have gradually come down lower and lower. And what this has done is it's made borrowing feel more manageable. Sure, people have got more money, but lower interest rates means that we pay less to service all that debt, so it kind of equals out. But now we've hit this crucial turning point. Interest rates can't go that much lower. And lately, they've actually started going up again. Remember, investors demanding higher interest or higher risk because our debt is at the highest level it's been since World War II. And we currently owe over 120% of everything the U.S. economy makes in a year. And that's a huge problem because now, when interest rates go up just a little bit, our government has to spend so much more money just to pay the interest on the existing debt. And I know that sounds really confusing, but I like to compare it to sort of how the older generation criticizes the young generation. It's like, well, back in my day, I was able to buy myself a house, and I paid 15% interest because I afforded it, and I worked really hard. It's like, no, Grandpa, you can afford it because houses cost 2 grass barrels. When houses cost a fortune, even 6%. That's essentially what we're right now, except on a national level. Sure, the rates are relatively low to where they were in the 80s, but our mortgage amount, aka debt, has never been higher. So we can't sustain these higher rates. That's why Jake Paul is pointing out that if the bond market starts to move this pressure, we're going to be in a lot of trouble. Now, this next slide that all the research ties into quickly is why so much money. This chart right here is the Social Security Trust Fund, which shows us how much money the government set aside to pay future benefits. You can see that it started from basically zero in the 1980s, and it grew steadily from there. And it peaked around 2017 $100 billion. And now it's dropping to 1,000. It's expected to hit zero within the next decade or so. Why? Because of demographics. Japan is the perfect example of this, but we also have a problem in the U.S. Baby boomers, which is the biggest generation in U.S. history, are now retiring by the millions, and the government has to pay them benefits, everything from healthcare to Social Security. And for years, the government collected extra money from boomers while they were working. Unfortunately, our government did not invest that money really well. That Social Security Trust Fund went mostly into U.S. Treasury bonds, whose real interest rates were out in line with inflation. So now that boomers are retiring, the government is forced to sell those bonds back into the market to pay for their benefits, draining that trust very fast. Here's the bigger problem. If that fund runs out, the government can't just stop paying Social Security because those benefits are guaranteed by law. And retirees employees depend on them to live. So the government only has two choices: raise taxes, which no politician wants to do, cut spending, which no politician wants to do, or borrow even more money, which just pushes us deeper into this entire stuff. Again, bonds are the center of all of this. And this demographic shift explains exactly why the debt problem is not just temporary, it's structural, and basically ongoing. And the last slides from Linholm's research, it really drives home just how deep this problem goes, because take a look at this one. It's called the debt problem, because the system will be looking to debt. These charts show two very important things: the total debt across the entire U.S. economy, both government debt and private debt, and something called the monetary base, which is basically how much money the Reserve has printed into existence. Now, the difference between the monetary base and the total debt essentially shows us how much leverage there is in the system. Now, notice something kind of incredible. Since the 1960s, the total debt in the U.S. has only ever gone down once. Even then, just by a little. That was during the financial crisis of 2008, which is one of the worst things that happened to the economy in my entire lifetime. And that's when the debt briefly went down by just about 1%. So this little tiny dip right here is just a small deleveraging of our debt. Now, in the last 110 years, though, Lynn says that we've only had a grand total of 5 total years where this blue line has never dipped. The Great Depression, which is between 1930 to 1934, and the 2008 financial crisis. That's it. That's the only time our economy has deleveraged. In 2008, the balance of the price of monetary, the total monetary base that made the economy was $1 trillion. But the total debt was $50 trillion, meaning in 2008, the economy was 50 to 1, which is insane. I mean, there's a lot of risk in the system. We fast forward to today, debt stands at a astonishing $1 trillion. And any attempt to seriously reduce that debt actually risks collapsing the entire system. That's why Lynn calls this the entire financial system a Ponzi-like system, because it relies on the ever-increasing debt and continuous money printing just to keep itself going. And here's the catch: the more money we print, the higher the risk of inflation and inflation. And when investors start to realize that this is happening, guess what they say? If I'm going to let the government borrow my money, I better get paid more because I'm taking on higher risk. They demand higher yields for bonds. It also goes back again and again to the bond market, the foundation of the entire financial system. So then the question becomes, have we ever been in this scenario in the last 100 years? And it turns out, yes, we have. It happened once, back in the 1940s. Now, this is probably the most important chart to study because it tells us something incredibly important. This is a 100-year chart showing how debt in the U.S. economy has shifted between these two different types: the government debt in blue and non-government debt or private debt in orange. Notice something amazing. The debt was shifted before in the past. Back in the 1940s, there were World War II. Just like today, so fast until it reached unsustainable levels. Eventually, that bubble bust, leading to the Great Depression, and then the government stepped in to borrow and spend massively, causing government debt to skyrocket. The economy shifted from a private debt-driven economy into a government debt-driven economy. After World War II, the government was loaded with debt, just like today. But how did they fix it back then? They didn't exactly pay it off. Instead, they slowly lowered their debt through something called financial repression. Basically, they kept interest rates artificially low, and they encouraged inflation to eat away at the value of that debt. I quickly shifted to the private sector again. Successfully by shifting somewhere else, but it's a really long solve that in the 1940s because we had money to lower rates, to boost our economy. And administrating was strong. So, which we have today. Inflation's already way past zero. Interest rates are still not bad. So, yes, we can see clearly from history that these debt cycles have happened before, but we're now facing a very different set of circumstances where the tools that we use to get us out of that situation are already being used today. So clearly the system is for strength. And the $1 trillion question is, what's the best thing that I can do to protect myself against all of these different economic outcomes? And that obviously depends on person to person. But for me, at my age, you're risky. In one situation, I just buy the US stock market, the ETF, BTI, because I think it stands to profit that yes. But if all of that is wrong and we're going to pivot to something like the modern system, I also buy Bitcoin because it stands to become a lot more valuable if the assumption is we're going to out of it by renting more base increase our base increase. I also hold real estate and have some cash on the sides just in case everything else fails. Maybe there's some opportunity, but each bucket of money represents anywhere between 20 to 25% of that personally lying is out. Obviously, that's not everyone. That's a good approach. And I think at this point, not owning any hard assets is more risky. Assets are the most difficult. My own asset choice is obviously Bitcoin, but it's not. Well, if you want to do Bitcoin, buy it, start, protect it. I have a step-by-step guide that shows you how to do that. Use platform reporting to get additional 40% off the purchase price. As always, I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you have any questions to make, smash the like button, subscribe, and hit the bell. See you soon. Take care.
actually worked up a meltdown. Elon Musk and Donald Trump alliance has gone up in flames. Total and utter flames.
This morning, a growing rift between the president and Elon Musk.
I'm very disappointed in Elon. I've helped Elon a lot.
We have all wondered when these two would fall out, but could anyone have predicted that when it did happen, it would spiral so fast?
I don't know what happened. Sorry, I don't remember about that.
What's up, you guys? It's Ryan here. So this is not the video that I was planning to post today, but over the last 24 hours, all the hell has broken loose, and Elon Musk is going head-to-head with Donald Trump. Normally, I don't cover topics like this on the channel, and I prefer to keep it specific to investing, personal finance, and real estate. But the fact of the matter is, what's being said is having a significant impact on the markets, with Tesla stocks running as much as 17% in a single day, and Elon predicting a recession towards the end of the year. Plus, I'm not going to lie, there are some valid concerns with the unsustainability of endless money printing, which is a topic that's actually worth diving into. This is why we really have to talk about exactly what's being said. The problem with the constant tax bill, why Elon Musk now wants the presidential impeach, and what this means for you watching. Despite the market falling, there could be some seriously good buy opportunities, if you know what to look for. Before we start, if you appreciate one-off videos like this, it would mean the world to me. Hit the like button, subscribe to get them already. Get continuing like videos once in one. Thank you for doing that. I will do my best to read and reply to many of the comments. Thanks so much for being thanked and that's fun. You know what? Alright, so time to let us begin. Let's start here with Elon Musk. I think it goes without saying that Elon's been a huge proponent of getting Trump elected in 2024. Reportedly has spent $250 million to make his tax. In fact, throughout Trump's campaign, Elon was right to his side to help his influence on X. It's pretty safe to say that there was significant hope to win the election, and this is where things get very interesting. Shortly after taking office, Trump put Elon Musk in charge of the Department of Justice efficiency, with the goal of lowering the federal deficit, wasting spending, and making sure it comes dollars as best as possible. In fact, in the first 3 months, Musk made fires that were bought out about 250,000 government workers to eliminate wasteful roles, and they initially went into the expectation that they could save $1 billion. But it soon became evident that cost-cutting measures were falling short. Some companies began receiving significant backlash, as opposed to saying, "Leaving tax relentlessly is not super fun. Seeing cars burn is not fun. Great scheme of things. I think we've been effective. Not as effective as we'd like. I think we've been more effective. I think we've made progress." Essentially, efforts fell short of legal hurdles and resistance within the courts, causing him to take a step back and focus more of his time on tax law. Until I saw Trump's big, beautiful tax become personal awareness, still what he said. This cuts jobs by 2017, spending military and border security, state bonus depreciation, paying taxes on overtime, and raise the debt ceiling to compensate for some of the lack of revenue, which leads us to the next problem. It's very expensive. For example, the Congressional Budget Office estimates that he would add around $2.4 trillion to the national debt for the next decade. Other analysts say it could potentially be as high as $4 trillion. Well, this works because the rates could help be a boost for the entire economy, but for the long-term health of America, and spending more money that we just don't have. For Elon, this completely undoes all of the work he's doing in Doge. After all, spending months cutting government spending or receiving significant backlash, only to have all of your work undone. One goes over in a few weeks with one single bill. You might recall the big ugly bill after saying the new tax plan nullifies the $180 billion spending cuts made by Doge. Shortly after, Elon blasted the legislation as a disgusting abomination because by inflating the deficit. Later recalled it as slavery that came up with future generations. As of yet, from there, on June 4th, Elon Musk tweeted that people in America is not okay. Well, this is where things take a turn for the worse. On June 5th, Trump publicly responded to Elon Musk, saying that he was very disappointed that he was helping Elon along. Also stated that Musk knew the inner workings of the bill better than anybody sitting there. But Elon responded with a false. This bill was never shown to be used once and was in the dead of night so fast that almost no one in Congress could even read it. Instead, Trump said the real reason Elon Musk is upset is purely out of self-interest because Trump's bill is eliminating $7,500 in tax credit. Well, before we go into that, I just want to say that it's a lot of work. Back and forth. So anytime that I need to focus without loading myself up on coffee, grabbing myself like that. They sent me a box to try a few months ago, no strings attached, and ever since then, I've literally had one of these every time before filming a video, anytime I need to log in, or whenever I travel to film a podcast. They help me stay focused, generate cash, actually much more. That's why I'm proud to say the sponsor. A shop like this with ingredients like L-theanine, matcha, and adaptogen. With your coffee, clear toast for hours, and your coffee. I've been drinking it daily, and noticed that I just have stress, more focus, and don't get activated brain fog. Plus, they're carbon neutral, donate to mental health charities, and they have a 100-day money-back guarantee. So if you want to try it out, just go to MaxMind.com/GM20 GM20 on the description. You can also use the link down below in the description or the QR code on the screen. If you really enjoy these videos with them everywhere you go, feel free to give it a shot. Again, QR code on the screen, link down below. And now let's get back to the topic of the day. $7,500. Though this is usually true, and eliminating the tax credit would have a negative financial impact on Tesla, it's also theorized that it could benefit Tesla long term because selling EVs overall is rather unprofitable. For instance, once the EV tax credit expires, of course, the massive losses, Tesla stays profitable and gains even more market share. Or I guess other ones. While other manufacturers are losing average $6,000 a car, Tesla is making $6,000 a car. And if the EV credit goes away, Tesla will be able to run the other companies out of business. Elon Musk even said it himself back in 2021. He recommended Congress get rid of the EV credit altogether. This is why when Trump said that Elon was wearing thin and just went crazy, Elon snapped back, calling it a lie. But Trump quickly doubled down on it. He said the easiest way to save money in our budget, billions and billions of dollars, is to remove Elon's government subsidies and contracts. I was always surprised that Biden didn't do it. Effectively, publicly threatening Elon that if he doesn't back down, it's possible there could be some rather severe financial losses. But Elon did respond by saying that without me, Trump would have lost the election. Democrats for the House and Republicans 51 to 49 in the Senate. Such ingratitude. This is pretty much where things evolved rather quickly. Tesla's largest single-day loss on record. Elon digging up something that always doesn't quite get that thing. Old tweets. See, in terms of the federal deficit, in 2013, Trump was publicly against raising the debt ceiling, called himself two bears, and that no member of Congress should be elected. The budget isn't balanced. Honestly, this entire situation has escalated so quickly before Elon was live tweeting Trump's press release, and then he began calling out other members of Congress who were previously in favor of cutting costs, now backtracking entirely, voting that would raise the federal deficit once again. Can't even make this stuff up. Elon started tweeting about Trump associated with Congress and Batman files. The reason we haven't seen it yet is because of Trump's minutes, even though it's part of a video at times put together. Later, Elon Musk retweeted a post saying that Trump may be impeached, saying that a recession will take place later in the year due to ongoing tariffs. Of course, others have been very critical of Elon Musk, citing his, arranged appearances at a recent meeting with the Black Ops. Some sources believe that this could be the reason for his outburst lately, but regardless of the reason, the market has this. One day, Tesla lost $150 billion in market cap, $185 million, wiped out the cryptocurrency market in 60 minutes. And Trump says the bill doesn't necessarily mean 68% less. So what does all this realistically mean? Well, here's my honest perspective. Someone who decides to help either way, rather than gain or lose by saying, I find it really bad case that all this is playing out so publicly blind back and forth. The country would benefit the most by being uniform. And it's still idealistic to expect these matters will be handled privately and closed doors. But objectively, I do think the country would be much better off if we did so much more back. Of course, to get it, the other argument to this is that I just allow the public to be aired out publicly so that all of us can see exactly what's happening in real time. We didn't come to a decision ourselves. Although in terms of how this impacts you, here's the honest truth. Short term, I would expect to see a lot more volatility. Flat out, the deficit state is tight to a certain way. But I wouldn't be surprised if least more market trouble. But long term, I wouldn't expect it to have any meaningful consequences. If it's only changing anything about the market fundamental, I'm sure not passing a new tax bill will most likely benefit the driving economy. But let's also be real. The new tax landing is most likely going to pass, and there will be spending increases because Congress ought to spend money. It is wildly uncommon to cut spending or raise taxes, so the only thing left to do at this point is just to print more money. Is this a problem for the national debt? Yes, absolutely. But it's the problem. Right now, compared to probably, I hate to say it, but it seems a lot of folks care about their next month and get spending more packages or slanting are through. So be it. It'll probably eventually, would that be? Well, spending more and more money for decades. Money that we don't have. The only problem is going to be the valuation of the U.S. dollar and the weakening position of the United States dominance. But nothing are grand fix. Quite frankly, Elon is highlighting very real, serious problems. The government can't really do anything about it. Honestly, I think it's a good buying opportunity. I'm not changing anything about how I invest. I don't think anything fundamentally wrong. I just think it's nice as it is to have to believe the government has the potential to operate efficiently. I don't have any hopes that this can be accomplished, and it just seems I'm sure it would be able to save a few pennies, but the rate the government's money spending, any resources would probably just be better spent elsewhere. If you missed anything, by the way, in the entire situation, since a lot of this is changing by the minute, feel free to leave a comment down below. I really like that like many of you. And also let me know if you enjoy these slightly off-topic, great-review videos, and people enjoy them. So thanks so much. Make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and
I told you that Japan, a country with just 2% of its population, could disrupt the entire world.
Japan's government has released growth data for the first quarter of this year. The numbers show the economy has taken a step back. Japan's biggest gains in the online trading has disappointing numbers for the last quarter of this year, and there are warning of rough waters ahead. Prices in Japan remain stubbornly high. Consumers are struggling with food on tables, and retailers with products on shelves at low prices.
That doesn't mean trying to fix the problem with limited success. Now, you probably don't spend a lot of time thinking about Japan's economy. Most people don't. It's on the other side of the world, and it's not online all the time. The reality is that Japan should increase interest rates in the country, crash stock portfolios all over the world, and potentially even trigger an external recession. Because Japan is not just another country. It is one of the biggest predators on Earth. It holds $100 billion as a competitor, and for decades, its finished engine has become some of the world's riskiest financial bets that are something called yen. Yen, it's one of the most important currencies in the world. It's also getting stronger. It sounds like a big deal to come, and we found out why it's not the last week. That's when we saw the carry trade unwind, which led to a quick spike again, which led to a flash crash of Japanese stocks, and the middle of that every U.S. stock big point. Now, at the time, the Bank of JP Morgan was warning that the carry trade unwind was only halfway done. Now, in 2025, that unwinding is continuing. The Japanese government bonds are collapsing in value. Long-term interest rates are going up. Bond auctions are on favor. Because of that, we're seeing this slow motion unwinding of trillions of dollars of leverage, and investors are starting to be a little scared. But the thing about this story is that it's not just a story about Japan, it's a story about the end of an era. The era of easy money. And then all that fits in, the global debt is this high, and the demographics this broken, there's really only one way out. Currency. Gradual realization that nothing stops the scene. Now, once that happens, money starts to look for other places to go, like scarce, decentralized, hard assets that can't be inflated away. So we can't do understand that it was going interesting details. Let me first talk about something that rarely gets talked about, which is demographics. Now, demographics explain the age structure of a community, like who's working for the money, who's spending it, and who's retired, because there has to be balance. Now, when you get less young people in a country, you get a smaller workforce, slower economic growth, tax revenue. At the same time, the cost of things like healthcare and retirement will go up. In other words, if a country has bad demographics, they will probably have a bad world. Now, Japan happens to be the oldest country. Now, 30% of the population is over the age of 65. Its birth rate has been below replacement. It's been getting smaller since 2008. And by 2050, they're estimating that Japan is going to lose around 20 million people, which is the equivalent of about everyone in Florida. The aging crisis doesn't just affect retirements and hospitals, it affects the entire economy. That's because less workers means less growth. More retirees means more government spending. You get the idea. The only way to keep that kind of a system running is to borrow money, which is why Japan now has the highest what's called debt to GDP ratio in the developed world, which is over 260%, and it keeps going up. And for years, Japan has gotten away with that. The government could just borrow trillions without any consequences because Japan also had their interest rates at basically zero, and because the Bank of Japan was willing to buy up half the bond market. But Japanese investors still wanted to make a return on their borrowed money. They wanted to park that money somewhere, so they bought U.S. assets, which is why Japan became the biggest foreign holder of treasuries. But now, in 2025, that balance is starting to break. The Bank of Japan is walking away. In all
Yes, ma'am. Ready to pass? Is it possible to compare one of the rest? Yeah, sure. I've never really heard anyone actually do that outside of the TikTok. Really just the partners processor we're about to close. Actually, that you're supposedly way on the market. That would be cool. It's possible to know how much it is. Yeah, so there's actually a few dozen people here. It's going to cost you a bit more than usual. The total is $82,545. There's only like 10 people in here though, so like I'm kind of confused. In the back room, there's a few dozen people having a party for the summer that we're not, so you're going to have to really make sure that the party's not open for 3 hours and as high as 180. Is it possible to round it up? Mr. 200K. Because it's like for a tax rise. It's really crazy. Do they see that? Yeah, they should go through. We actually put up to 1 person. It's meetings out of it. We actually like got right.
Any small powerful weapons.
Species.
page. Gosh. It's so far. You gotta be kidding me. You just stabbed me once, bro. So mad time with the flaming sword. You got a high 22.
Yo, how? Listen, we. Are you dead ass? Like, yo.
This might be it. Let's just see.
That right there, what I witnessed, right? And what we all witnessed, and we seen the transcripts, that proves that that girl was lying. So, if I'm the defense, I'd be like, well, right. Like me, if I was the jury, if I was on the jury, I'd be like, well, I kind of would split believing some of these females. And did he really did it do that? Because, like, why would they lie, right? But when you have this girl caught in a lie, more than likely, 99% chance that she was caught in a lie about the whole thing. Who else is lying? Who else lied already that testified? So now, to that point, if I'm a juror, I'm like, wait a minute, who else lied? And this testimony was going on. And one of the receipts about him not even being in the same place, the same state. He was nodding his head like a yes, the juror. He was looking at the juror, nodding his head yes. Okay. Does got mad at him. They coordinated his team to fix, right? And said, hey. Did it? I want to know about this.
court, but not to make facial expressions or lean to his wife towards the jury. Nodding your head vigorously towards the jury, but not allowed private jurors with your actions by nodding, facial expressions. Cut it out. Come on, Daddy. For I shall be from this court. What is that? Ain't got no worry. Put it in. Not put it in. Now why was this nodding being done? Or the counting? Counting all the time. But the counting is saying. No, sir. Yeah, no. You know why? I'm sick. You know why? The city believes that the juror would decide. First, the last brain still counting was victim number 4, and his jurors were pretty much celebrating according to the tell in the book. They were not. What the examination of the person that was testifying in the city, that evil type of stuff was. They were breaking the right. There is tells that it was nothing but 16 in there, but she did praise Brian Bill when he did his job. She don't like me at all. Now today, that Diddy was nodding his head towards the juror. He was saying, hey, people, my guy, no, he got to teach that I wasn't even here, so that Diddy, over that now.
What?
Diddy was trying to keep crying. Diddy was crying. So, you know, like, hey, I'm around with the juror, right? Now, according to the report, the jurors were, they were the ones so fake, not trying to give away their explaining like they like that. Somebody was in court, they just young, something about it. I see the guy last week. That's okay. Can't show up. So I think that's why the judge, because I think the judge can't be broken. Nobody sees it. It's not in it just affects the door. Stop. Stop trying to but not. I think it's late. First of all, did you think this way down? I think the jurors are like this. No, the jurors by the law witnesses and what's going by the body. These witnesses have zero proof. I've got to be honest. Yeah, if you're a juror, I'll believe. But okay, I would be one. Okay. Why would they come to court and lie? Why would they do that? They better stop calling themselves that victim because they are destroying them. The price is $100,000. So they can take $3,000 why my mom or that Did he blackmail her? Take the RICO video. If you don't mind, you don't know.
Man.
If he did, he sent it back. He sent it back to the father's account, as his father's account. But still, if you're trying to prove RICO, stick to that, because these alleged victims are just you are giving Diddy points, you're giving this team points, and I'm not only an expert, I'm just somebody that just watches like everybody else. But holy hell! I want to put moments like this. You don't get upset. I'm I can't believe I did this, but it's so sick. No, ain't that going back? Going back here, so as a juror, now I come down to my head, especially after today, with 99% chance that this lady is lying about him holding her over that now that is used because that's a prosecution. Did they vet her before they rung her up there? Did they even vet her? You gotta be kidding me.
Four letters, one word. Yeah.
I'm telling you, the prosecutors, they better just chill with the female victims, because Diddy hired 10 lawyers. Them lawyers are masterful. I know in the beginning people were getting on his lawyers